Televiziunea Română, întâlnirile JTI și Fundația Art Production vă recomandă Garantat 100%.
Salutare tuturor! Bine v-am regăsit la Garantat 100%, scurt și cuprinzător. Invitatul nostru din seara asta este Sir Derek Jakobi. Good evening. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
Sir Derek, it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you very much.
There's a quotation from yourself.
Oh.
You said, "I've been dogged by good luck."
Oh, yes.
What do you understand by good luck?
I think good luck in the sense of being given the opportunity to strut my stuff, to work, to improve, to learn, to digest. And in that sense, I have been enormously lucky because I've been at it for a long time. Nearly 57 years now. And most of that time, I have been in work.
Yep,
most of that time. I've had my times out of work, of course, but most of that time I've been in work, good work, and through that I've learned, I have hopefully got better, because actors we're always doubting ourselves, and quite rightly. But I've been given the opportunities to learn and to improve. And that, for me, is the luckiest thing. I've never had to really hustle. I've never had to work the room, you know. Things have happened. I've seemed to have been in the right place at the right time.
How will you define luck? I mean, is that the only key ingredient of a successful career?
No. It is not the only ingredient. I think there are three, probably. There is obviously a modicum of talent. You've got to have some talent. You've got to have health and stamina. I mean, if you're doing stage, which is primarily what I have done in the course of my career.
Well, we'll get to that.
You're doing 8 performances of King Lear a week or 8 performances of Hamlet or Macbeth a week. You need great Olympian stamina. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and above all, vocally, which you don't need with anything to do with the camera. The voice is not so important. So in that sense, luck is the icing on the cake. If you've got all those other things, you've got a bit of talent, you've got good health, you've got a physical equipment for the work you're doing. The other ingredient you need is somebody to ask you to do it. And that's where the luck comes in.
Did you take care properly, and this is a rather intimate question, but did you take care properly of the instrument you were playing with, of your body?
Yes, I have tried to all my life, particularly vocally. I think if you're doing a great Shakespearean role, and the audience are going to be listening to your voice for 3.5 hours, you can't play one instrument. You've got to be at least half the orchestra, if not the whole bloody lot, in order to retain their attention and to entertain them, because that's basically what we're doing, entertainment. So in that sense, and when I was younger, I used to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym quite so much now, but I did when I was young, and I did look after myself. I'm not a druggie. I've never taken drugs. I've indulged a bit with that, but not to any lethal extent, no.
You said entertainment. There are lots of people who will tell you that you're an artist, that art is not entertainment and vice versa. What's your intimate and decisive decision in this dispute?
I am there to entertain in an artful way.
Wow.
I think there are many ways of describing it. What I do can be described as art, as craft, as skill. It is all those things, but it is also trickery.
What do you mean by trickery?
I mean a reliance occasionally, in order to stay sane, on technique. The technique is a nice word describing an actor's toolbox, his box of tricks, his box of how to do it most effectively. Now, you can call that skill, which it is. You can call it craft, which it is. You can call it art, which it is. But it's also tricks. But we don't say tricks, we say technique. Famous actor John Gielgud was once reputed to have said that when he was playing King Lear, 8 performances a week, 4 performances a week, he became Lear, he took Lear on, he lived Lear. The other 4 performances, he sent technique on.
Is it honest to do that?
Oh yes, because you're not...
I mean in terms of deep ethics.
Yes, you are not cheating the audience in any way. You are, in a sense, I think it will be totally, maybe dangerous, certainly very, very difficult to inhabit a King Lear totally every day, sometimes twice a day. You've got to also be aware of yourself and save yourself in order to be able to do it the following week and the following week and the following week. Otherwise, that would be cheating, to indulge yourself totally, saying, I have become this man so totally, and I can do it 8 times a week, week after week. No, nobody can do that. I'm here to be proved wrong. I couldn't do it, and I don't think it's possible.
So Derek, let us come back for a little while to the notion of luck. On the other hand, it is rather terrifying to live a whole life, in fear with the idea that success may come at a certain moment, but it may slip through your fingers. What I would be very interested in would be, how did you manage your flow of thoughts? How did you manage your anxieties? Especially in the years when your career was just a hope.
Golly, I had a great deal of desire, of hope, and a confidence in my abilities. Now, I'm not here to say that that was enough. It is not what I do, the profession I'm in, is not a fair profession. It is not always just. It is probably never just. Success can come to you as easily as failure, and as often as failure. Again, we're going back to the luck and the opportunities. But even that, when you are being given the luck and the opportunity, you've got to fulfill it. You've got to come up with the goods. But I firmly believe that there are out there talented people who don't get that opportunity, who don't get that moment when they break through. It's a frightening business. I stand in the wings and say, what a silly way to earn a living. Why do I put myself through the agony, the terror of actually walking out there onto the stage? For 2 years in the early 1980s, I suffered from stage fright. And I had it for 2 years. I couldn't go on the stage. I lost all my confidence. I lost my ability to go out there. I was so frightened, catatonic fear. Thank goodness I got out of it eventually. But I put a worm of doubt in my head, in the wings, one performance in Sydney, Australia, and it took me 2 years to get that worm out of my head. It's a very fragile world. And the moment you start questioning too closely the reasons, it's dangerous to question too closely. Because the question can lead to the wrong answer. The question can lead to doubt. And what you mustn't doubt. You mustn't doubt. Be frightened, be scared, but never doubt, because that's the killer.
What happened exactly on the stage? How was the moment of feeling dried out, of forgetting the text? How was that moment?
I created it myself. I was at the end of a long tour around the world playing Hamlet. And I played Hamlet 400 times. And it was the last day of the tour. We were at the Theatre Royal in Sydney, Australia. And where our interval came in the play, it came before what we call the nunnery scene. So the first thing I had to do after the interval was to be or not to be. Now, when any actor says those words, the silence of an audience is tangible. Everybody seems to lean forward. They all know the line. They're all waiting for the actor to say that line. Maybe the first 2 lines or 3 lines, but certainly to be or not to be, ka-ching. And I was thinking this in the wings before I went on. And also into my mind came the thought, what happens if I forgot it? What happens if I go on there and I forget to be or not to be? What would they do? What would I do? And I went on and I started to be or not to be. That is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And I drive. What comes next? What comes next? Because I had played it so often, automatic pilot took over.
I do have to ask you this. I do have to understand this. What's the meaning of that automatic pilot? What did it do?
My brain took over. My brain, my body, absolutely every pore opened. Sweat poured out. The heat in my body was intense. My brain suddenly went cold, suddenly chilled, suddenly froze. And no, because all the words are stored in there, and it suddenly said, I'm going to take over. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it. You're going to get through it. You down there probably won't know what's coming next. But I've done it so many times up here that I'm taking control. And I got through it, catatonically frightened, and didn't go on stage for 2 years, as I said.
This is the fundamental experience, Sir Derek.
It was. Well, I thought my career was at an end. I thought, certainly my stage career, I couldn't go on a stage again. And even in front of a camera, my shoulders were beginning to meet somewhere above my head, you know, and I was even getting frightened of camera. And then I was given an offer I couldn't refuse.
What was that?
And that got me out of it. Well, I am sitting in a film studio in Austria, in Bavaria, and I'm playing Adolf Hitler. I'm all dressed as Adolf Hitler. It's an adaptation of Albert Speer's autobiography, Inside the Third Reich. And there is a telephone call. And they said, there's a telephone call for you, Derek. I took it. It was from the Royal Shakespeare Company, Stratford-upon-Avon. A company that I'd longed always to be part of and had never been part of.
I know we will get to that.
And it was the director, Terry Hands, and he said, we'd like you to come and be in the season, next season. And my heart sank. I thought, I can't do this. And I said, well, what do you want me to play? He said, we're offering you 4 plays. Benedick in Much Ado About Nothing, Peer Gynt in Peer Gynt, Prospero in The Tempest, and Cyrano de Bergerac in Cyrano de Bergerac. And I thought, if I don't accept this, I will never act again. I mean, this is it. An actor doesn't get that kind of offer. And so I said yes.
So you got it.
So I got it, and I did it. I remember the very first one was Benedick in Much Ado About Nothing. I was so frightened, so frightened. But I got through it, and I have intimations even now. If I talk about it too much, so I won't talk about it too much.
Okay, we'll get back to this. You studied history at Cambridge University.
Yes.
Why history?
It was easy. It was easy for me. I had a photographic memory. I could remember facts, easy peasy, like that. I also knew that either Oxford or Cambridge, and I went to Cambridge eventually, were hotbeds of theatre, and that there were lots of students who ended up on stage, or as directors, as actors. I wanted to be part of that world. And I thought, well, I love history. I find learning facts easy and then weaving weird, wonderful theories about those facts. That's easy. If I can do that, but at the same time become part of the theatre fraternity, I've got it made. That'd be wonderful. And that's what I did. And for 3 years, I acted all the time. I got what was called the actor's degree, which was a 2-2, straight down the middle. So I wasn't a dunce and I wasn't brilliant, but I was okay, you know. And then, and I acted all the time there. And then I went into rep. And I thought at the end of Cambridge, maybe I was only 22 when I came down from Cambridge. And I thought, well, I can go to drama school now. And then I thought, no, I don't want to go to drama. I want to get into the business now. So I did.
Is there a real contribution of your training as a student in history in your career as an actor when you play historical parts in historical texts? A real contribution?
Yes, I do think so. I do think a sense of the period, not just of what happened in that period, but how people behaved in that period. How, particularly for costume, what your clothes do to you, how you can walk, sit, stand, move in a certain costume.
And it teaches you a common sense of that time, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and the common factor of life at that time. I mean, to be alive in London at the time of Shakespeare, and all that being a Londoner at that time meant, and the horrors of it, and that was very useful, yes.
You said in an interview, you said about yourself, about the time when you were 21, 22, that it was, in a sense, easier in those days. Can you please tell me more about that? What do you mean by easier? What was easier?
There was more opportunity. In England at that time, the repertory system was flourishing. I mean, for my own example, at the end of my time at Cambridge, I wrote to various repertory theatres around the country, and there were many very vibrant theatres in most major cities all over England. And I eventually was accepted at Birmingham, and I went to Birmingham for 3 years. That became my drama school, in fact, and that was a 4-weekly rep, new play every 4 weeks, and I was there for 3 years, so we got through a lot of plays. But that's what I meant, that the atmosphere and the opportunities then for a young actor of that age, just starting out, if they could get into a rep, and there were many opportunities to do so. It's different now.
So the business was not so crowded? Maybe?
Nowhere near as crowded as now. No, it wasn't. It was crowded, but now it is overcrowded. And of course, television drama was not what it is now. It wasn't so wall to wall as it is now. Kids can watch the television in their corner or on their pads now, and they see actors acting or actors behaving, and they think, I could do that, that looks interesting, and they get paid a lot of money to do that, and they become celebrities, and everybody does that to them. Oh yeah, I could do that. And they think it's easy, you know, but it ain't. But somehow over the years, the specialness of acting has gone. Now anybody believes they can act because they see acting all the time.
Fascinating phenomenon.
Yes, acting isn't bohemian anymore. It's not another world anymore. It's everybody does it. Everybody can do it.
Does this affect you?
How do you mean?
In your inside, in your inner circle of thinking, does this affect you? I mean, it is a certain loss of that particular notion
mystique. There's no mystique
yes.
about it. Yes, absolutely right. There is occasionally a feeling of, you think it's so easy, and it's not. A bit of that. A bit of wanting to slap them on the wrist, you know. But that's age. That's my age.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So, Derek, let us go back to a certain moment in your life when you had to give an audition in a very important moment. Your dream was to get to Stratford-on-Avon, and you gave an audition with Peter Hall, whom you called God. You said Peter Hall was God. There was Peter Brook also over there. Who could be Peter Brook? Maybe the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I don't know. But they were both there. Everybody was there.
Everybody was there. Yeah.
And you were rejected.
Yes.
You had to play the Ariel part.
Ariel in
the Tempest.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was at the Birmingham Rep, and the distance in miles between Birmingham and Stratford is about 22 miles. And it was sort of a historical fact that if you got to leading young man at Birmingham, the next step, logical, and you were in a classical repertory, the next step is you were invited to go to Stratford. Schofield had done it, Albert Finney had done it, I mean, Olivier had done it, they'd all done it. And eventually I was asked to go, and they said, you'll start humbly at first, you'll understudy and you play a couple of small parts. Fine. So I went to the powers that be at Birmingham, and I said, God has spoken, they want me over at Stratford, will you let me go? And they said, yes, with our blessing, you go. Fine. A couple of weeks later, there was a letter from Peter Hall. We'd like you to come and meet everybody. Lovely. So I get to the stage door of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and the company manager meets me, and he says, we'd like you to read Ariel in The Tempest. Now, there had never been a suggestion in any message.
How much time did they give you?
10 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Would you just go into that dressing room and read it through, and then we'll call you onto the stage? So I did 10 minutes reading Ariel. It wasn't a play I knew very well then. And Ariel's a sprite right? So he's got a light voice, and so I went out onto the stage, and there was Peter Hall, Peter Brook, Clifford Williams, Michel Saint-Denis. I mean, all that. It was Olympus. It was Olympus. And I'm terrified, and I don't know it, of course, I'm reading it, and I read Ariel to the best of my ability, my voice isn't very strong, and at the end, Peter Brook called me down to the edge of the stage and said the equivalent of, "Don't call us, we'll call you." I went back to Birmingham, and then the letter arrived saying, "We don't think you're quite ready to join us." That was, I think, probably the biggest disappointment of my whole career. Birmingham is full of canals. And I really did literally walk along the canals and think, well, a big stone in the pockets, jump in the canal.
Literally?
I did. I was that dejected. I was just down. And then I had to go back to the people at Birmingham and say, they don't want me. Can I have my job back? Now, this is a piece of luck.
Yep.
The year is 1963. It is the 50th anniversary of the Birmingham Rep. I didn't know that. To celebrate, they are going to do the 3 Shakespeare plays that the theatre has never performed. They are Henry VIII, Titus Andronicus, and Troilus and Cressida. Yes, you can have your job back, and we'd like you to play Troilus, Henry VIII, and Aaron the Moor in Titus. And it is one Wednesday matinee, I am playing Henry VIII, and Laurence Olivier is out front. He likes what he sees and gives me a job. Now, luck doesn't get any bigger and better than that.
That's fully right. On the other hand, you said, and this is also a quotation from yourself, drama schools don't teach you how to face rejection.
There's a lot of things drama schools don't teach you. They don't teach you to act. No, I firmly believe a drama school, if I'd been to one, wouldn't have taught me how to act. I was an actor, and I think most people who are true actors and who end up facing the horrors and the terrors of the business are actors to start with. A drama school can teach them what is good about what they think they can do, what is bad. They can teach them how to use their voice, how to use their body, how to switch on to their inner workings. Yes, they can't teach them to act.
What teaches you to act? Who teaches you to act?
I think nature. I think actors are born. I think actors are born. I was born. My parents were nothing to do with theatre, nothing to do with culture, really. I never saw either parent read a book.
But you have to achieve a certain common sense of the business, of being right there, not to exaggerate, not to be too small, not to be too big.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How did you do that?
You learn that. You learn that. That comes through being given the opportunities, as I said, to strut your stuff and learn. I'm still learning. Every actor never stops learning, never stops doubting, never stops trying to make it better, make it deeper, make it realer, make it more accessible. This is particularly so with Shakespeare, because one of the great difficulties of Shakespeare is making it accessible to the audience, making it sound that this is the way you think, this is the way you speak, perfectly naturally. It's not a learnt text, it's not the Bible, it's not special, it's real people thinking real thoughts and expressing them in a real way. But that's the difficulty, making it sound like that. Yeah.
It's a huge difficulty.
Yeah.
At the same time, you said this is a business that doesn't owe you a job, doesn't owe you a living.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's as I said right at the beginning, it's not fair. It's not fair. You attempt to be part of that world, of this profession. It's interesting that acting is called a profession and movies are called an industry. Very interesting. There is a subtle difference there. Yeah. But the unfairness of it and the not being able to teach you to accept rejection, that comes from yourself. Nobody can impart that. They can maybe tell you that it's going to be tough out there. It's not going to be easy. But that's part of the wonders of the business too. Who wants it to be easy?
Let's talk a little bit about being theatrical in theater and in theater for television, and on the other hand, doing cinema.
Yeah.
How's the internal switch or trigger that you have to push or press or activate in order to be adequate for each one of them?
I think if you are journeying from stage to camera, I think that journey for an actor is, in a sense, easier than the other journey from the camera to the stage. Because what is needed is different. What an actor making the journey from stage to camera needs is to minimize everything, bring it all down, bring it down to these and this, basically, and bring it right down, and it's fret work. You don't need vocal, you don't need anybody, you've got a microphone on, you don't need any of that. And also, you are surrounded by safety nets. If you forget it, you go back and do it again.
Everything is
If they
safe.
can't hear you, they put the microphone up. All you've got to do, you internalize. Now, actors on stage do that as well, but then they have to throw it out there. They've got to throw it down there, and they've got to throw it up there. Now, that's a skill and a technique that you learn and you acquire. If you are coming from this, and you've got now to get this out there, that's much more difficult. You've got to be bodily aware, you've got to be vocally aware, you've got to say to yourself, what I do in front of a camera, I get the people inside my head, through my eyes and my face. I've now got to do that the other way round and still believe that I have integrity, that I'm not screaming and shouting, I'm being theatrical, and it's difficult.
How's that sensation when you have the feeling that you have to fill the whole universe with your body, with your eyes, with your voice, and that you have to fill it, the whole universe?
Yes, it's a wonderful feeling if you can do it. And I've played in, the last Shakespeare I did was Lear, 5-6 years ago. And we started in a very small space, the Donmar in London. And it was wonderful, wonderful. Then we toured it, and we went around England, we went to New York, playing in vast 3,000-seater theatres. And what in London had been this intimate performance had to be expanded, and had to be expanded not in a big theatrical way. It had to hopefully stay as true to itself and sincere to itself, the performance, as well as...
Isn't that a compromise?
Blowing it up.
As a matter of fact.
No, it's not, because if you can achieve it, and the audience lets you know if you've achieved it or not,
that's true.
The job satisfaction is enormous. I mean, you do 4 hours of Lear, and you get that first glass of wine afterwards. You've earned that glass of wine, and the sense of arrival and achievement is vast. You don't get paid a lot of money in the theatre. I know no rich theatre actors. I know quite a few fairly rich television actors. I know a few incredibly wealthy film actors, but I don't know any rich stage actors. But it's not what you do it for, really. Well,
let's hope so. Let's hope so. Okay, just a few words about the moment when you played Laertes in Sir Laurence Olivier's Hamlet with Peter O'Toole playing Hamlet.
Luck again. Luck again. I was young man in the company, and that production of Hamlet, Peter O'Toole's Hamlet, directed by Laurence Olivier, was the first production of the British National Theatre. It was October 1963, and it was the opening night of the National Theatre ever in England. And I was down to understudy Laertes, that was to be played by one of our leading juvenile actors called Jeremy Brett, who ended up being the fabulous Sherlock Holmes. And Jeremy, before we started rehearsals, was bought out by Warner Brothers to play Freddie Eynsford Hill in the film of My Fair Lady. So instead of getting another young star in to play Laertes, they upped the understudy, which was me. So I ended up playing Laertes to O'Toole's Hamlet, and it was wonderful. And it was my 25th birthday, the night we opened. 25th
That
birthday.
very night?
That very night. And it was the 22nd of October, 1963. I was 25. And afterwards we had a party in the auditorium and on the stage, and all the glitterati of London were there. And I was running about, boring the arse off everybody. I was running around telling everybody, this is the best night of my life. I've just played Laertes to Peter O'Toole's Hamlet, directed by Laurence Olivier, and it's my 25th birthday. It's my 25th birthday. And eventually, I think they all got so bored with this that silence was called for, and Shirley Bassey came on stage and sang Happy Birthday.
Was that for you?
That was for me.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, it was wonderful. Wonderful night.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said I'm part of a profession that is permanently 80% unemployed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's virtually true that there are at any one time only X thousand actors employed, and they're usually the same actors. It's part of the business, I'm afraid. There are so many actors, and there's only room, there are only parts for so many. And a lot of people, talented people, who are not given the luck that I had.
It's so true. With your kind permission, we'll come to today. You've been a very important part of Radu Mihaileanu's most recent film, The Story of Love. How was the experience of this film, and how's the experience of the Transylvania International Film Festival?
Well, the experience of the film was, first and foremost, a surprise. Then it was a wonderful experience. I think it was, along with another part, I did a film about the painter Francis Bacon, and along with that, it's the best part I've had on screen. It's a wonderful part. It has such depth, such sensitivity, such spirituality. A man who is in touch with his inner soul, his inner self. A man prepared to show weakness and strength in equal measure. And Radu was a wonderfully kind director to me. Not one of those directors that tried to terrify a performance out of you, you know. and I worked with those sort of directors, but Radu was very sympathetic, and he knew much more about it than I did. He was so ahead of his game that's what I needed. So I clung to him, and he never let me down. He was wonderful, and I'm loving being here. It's great. I did make a film many years ago that I don't think anybody ever saw in Bucharest with Jeff Goldblum, set in a mental home in Israel. I don't think anybody ever saw it. I certainly didn't. But this is my second visit to Romania, and so far it's been really lovely. Except for all these wretched interviews you have to do.
But in this very moment, really, this is a privilege. So I will take all advantage of this privilege. But, so Derek, you identify yourself with being a person from London, posh, BBC, repertoire theatre.
Can I stop you there?
Yes, please.
I do not identify myself as posh, BBC. My background is anything but posh.
Yes.
My background
I agree.
is East London, unposh. I happen to have done a lot of classical work on the BBC.
So that makes you posh.
So in your eyes, it may make me posh.
It makes you look posh.
Make me look posh.
Okay.
In my eyes and in my head, I ain't posh.
So, how do you live with that, working in the industry, as you said? I mean, you're not posh.
No.
But you work in the industry. And
Yes.
you work at the highest level. You've been working and you work at the highest level of the industry.
Yes.
You're somebody who came from there.
Yes.
And you are there.
Yes.
How is this making you feel?
Very happy. Very proud. I wish my parents were still around to see it. Yes. My mother died too young.
But your dad saw you...
Oh, Dad got to 90. He came to the palace for the gong. Yes, so that was lovely. But no, it's nice to think back on distance travelled. Yes. But it doesn't mean that I've arrived.
With your kind permission, I will ask my last question. It is a very personal question. Here it is. In Romania, 3 million Romanians signed a petition to make a change in the Romanian constitution in order to define more precisely family as a union between a man and a woman. There's a rather tense debate within the Romanian society on this topic. If you were to intervene in this debate, what would you say?
I would say you can't choose what you are. And if you are lucky enough to experience true love, the object of that love, no matter what its gender, is something to be cherished. I think gay people do not choose to be gay. They are. It is what they are. And I think that people who are straight should accept those who do not follow the path of family and children, not because they wickedly choose not to, but it is not in their nature. And I think that should be not only allowed, it should be praised.
So Derek, privileged to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck with all that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I need all the luck I could get.
Thank you. Tuturor celor care sunt alături de Garantat 100%, mulțumim frumos pentru încredere. Noapte bună!